PP405 is being hailed as the new solution to hair loss. Could this be the replacement for finasteride, minoxidil? Could we get all the hair regrowth we need? Could we turn a slick, bald scalp fully hairy again without any systemic hormonal side effects? In this video, I'm gonna cover what is PP405, what is the data that Patented Pharma has released so far on the drug, what I haven't seen anybody else discuss, but the mechanism behind why PP405 may or may not work, and then I'll give my verdict on whether patients should be excited for this hope or cope. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew, co-founder of Anagen and HairDAO. We are the largest basic research lab in association with androgenetic alopecia in the world. We're responsible for about 50% of all basic research globally per year at this point. We are a community of researchers, patients, and scientists alike. And of course, we make our treatments proprietary and not available via Anagen.xyz, our telehealth service. Let's begin. PP405 was named by Time magazine as the best invention of 2025. That's a really impressive and exciting statement. So we're gonna look into why exactly it has received so much press, so much hype. But first, what is PP405? PP405 is an investigational topical. It passed its phase 2 clinical trial earlier this year, and it is set to go into phase 3 clinical trials in 2026. It is being developed by Patented Pharmaceuticals. Generally, it is backed by some of the most impressive, large, high-profile VCs in the world at this point. However, when you look at the recent data releases, I become increasingly skeptical of PP405 and what sort of hope hair loss patients should have looking forward based on the data they've released. So what do we know so far about PP405? Well, the first thing we know from their preclinical data, looking at essentially rubbing PP405 on human scalp skin in a dish that is excess from facelifts, which is very common. It is a very good preclinical model that they've used. And what they saw was increased Ki67 expression, which is a marker of cell proliferation. And when you're looking at the bulge, this could sort of signal increased stem cell activation. This is what got people very excited because a lot of people sort of mistakenly assume that increased stem cell proliferation equates more hair growth. The second piece of data that we have available from Patented is what they released from their phase 2 trial. And they were very selective about the language they used. So what they told us was that 31% of men with severe alopecia on PP405 saw greater than 20% hair density gains after 8 weeks. Now, why is this suspicious? Because women were also in this trial, and men with non-severe forms of alopecia, so say like Norwood 2, maybe 3, were also in this trial. And so they're not giving us any insights into their results. And that also, within the smaller subset of men with severe alopecia, only 31% of these patients saw higher density gains than 20%. That means 70% of these patients could have experienced essentially no hair regrowth at all. So when you look at the total numbers, they're essentially reporting on 10% of their total trial size. And you might assume in worst case that 90% of people in this trial actually saw no efficacy. Now, in terms of why this might be the case, I touched on earlier the fact that they saw increased Ki67 expression. When you think of a hair follicle, there are two primary niches that talk to each other. The first and the most important as it relates to androgenetic alopecia is the dermal papilla, which is a small little ball at the very bottom of the hair follicle. The next is slightly higher up, which is the bulge. The bulge is where all the stem cells are actually located. While the cells in the dermal papilla are mesenchymal signaling cells, they are critically not stem cells. Now, in hair loss, in the pathology of androgenetic alopecia, what we see is that the dermal papilla cells come out of the dermal papilla and the dermal papilla gets smaller. Its signaling capacity, particularly of pro-growth signaling pathways, is degraded to the bulge. And as a matter of fact, while Ki67 might signal that there is increased proliferation of these bulge stem cells, we never actually see loss of proliferation in androgenetic alopecia. And this can be seen by the increasing size of sebaceous glands, essentially the oil glands connected to each hair follicle in androgenetic alopecia. It is common phenotype for people dealing with androgenetic alopecia to see enlarged sebaceous glands. So it's not just important that you increase cell proliferation to combat androgenetic alopecia. What's also important is cell differentiation, cell fate. These are very complex mini organs with upwards of 30 different subpopulations of cell per hair follicle. And so to just increase rapid division of cells is not going to actually foster a healthy environment for new thick hair shafts to grow. You know what else has rapid proliferation? Cancer, tumors. This is not necessarily a signal of developing a fully formed mini organ like you need for hair follicle regrowth. Okay, so now that I've just poo-pooed on the entire PP405 parade, I'm going to give the explanation of why this treatment may work and sort of what they are expecting to happen. So at a high level, you need to step back and look at the two primary ways that cells make energy. The first is oxidative phosphorylation. This is also called oxphos, and it is a slower way to make energy, but is very efficient. Roughly 2 glucose molecules go in, and it produces about 32 molecules of ATP, which is like energy for the cells. The second is sort of, you can think of as the backup generator to when oxphos is malfunctioning, is called glycolysis. This takes in 2 glucose molecules and produces about 4 ATP molecules. Now, it is much faster than oxphos, but it is much more inefficient. PP405 injects itself into the cell metabolism by inhibiting mitochondrial pyruvate carrier, which would otherwise continue on the process of oxphos, and forcing it into glycolysis, where it produces more lactate, which is known to increase the stimulation, activation, proliferation of stem cells. So this is sort of the theory behind why PP405 would be able to increase stem cell activation and proliferation, which I have no doubt it probably does. Now, is that the best thing for hair growth? I will just say this, glycolysis is turned on in sort of moments of stress. If you're working out at the gym, your body might shift its energy production to glycolysis. If your immune cells are sensing inflammation, they might shift into glycolysis to deal with the problem. But it is not necessarily the best long-term state for your body to be in. This is similar to sort of chugging a coffee or getting a good night of sleep, for example. A coffee might spike a temporary short-term burst of energy, but if you just drink coffee and never get sleep, you're gonna die actually. This is sort of how I would equate PP405's mechanism. You're shifting these hair follicles into a temporary but inefficient state of high energy. And so that might spark an immediate activation in stem cells, but I don't actually think it bodes well necessarily for the hair follicles long term. In order to really solve the issue of hair loss, I think we need to look more at the dermal papilla and figure out what is happening there to essentially have these cells exiting the dermal papilla and to reduce the signaling capacity of this dermal papilla. It is ultimately the crosstalk between the dermal papilla and the stem cell niche which contributes to full, healthy terminal hair follicles. So in short, not only am I just sort of suspect of switching off an efficient mechanism in favor of an inefficient mechanism, but I also just think that they're actually looking at the wrong component of the hair follicle when you think about what is actually going wrong in the dermal papilla. So how did this treatment get so much hype? I think the story sort of just writes itself. You have a really great, smart, credentialed team. You have incredible investors who have continuously proven that they're good investors in other fields, and they have increased their investment with each round. So that's very exciting. And then you also have this potential for, very fast hair regrowth, even faster than what is seen in minoxidil based on sort of what they're reporting, which again makes sense. I would expect with the shift to glycolysis to see an instant increase in energy production. I just question whether they can continue that for a longer period of time. But then also you get a hair loss treatment that doesn't impact your hormones systemically. That is huge because people do not want to take, finasteride and dutasteride, nuke their DHT just to regrow hair. We've seen this with precision dutasteride. People are very interested in new hair loss topicals that can regenerate hair without impacting systemic hormones. So if you could have something that worked faster than minoxidil, didn't have any of the side effects of finasteride or dutasteride, and regrew a lot of hair, this would obviously be a blockbuster. And ultimately, I think we're all sick and tired of waiting for so long. So when there's something that comes along with some potential like this, backed by serious people with a lot of money, the stories write themselves. Unfortunately, I just don't want people to sort of wait up at night expecting for their hair loss to be solved the second this phase 3 trial is done. Again, if they come out and I am totally wrong and all of my theories about hair loss are totally incorrect, and I will be the first in line to try PP405. But I just don't think that the mechanism makes sense. I think it's very suspicious how they release their data, which should be a red flag that maybe we shouldn't expect results for a lot of people. And actually within the online hair loss sphere, a lot of people have actually sourced very similar molecules to PP405 with similar mechanisms and experienced essentially no regrowth. So this has been tried before in various biohacking communities. Okay, so for my final verdict, is the science interesting? Absolutely. Do I appreciate that credentialed, very smart scientists are trying to solve the problem of androgenetic alopecia? Absolutely. But do I think this drug will work or really be very useful at all? No, I think it will be a marginal improvement at best. I'm very skeptical of how they've released their data so far, and the mechanism just doesn't really make much sense to me based on what we know about how androgenetic alopecia occurs. So if I were a hair loss patient, I would not be waiting on PP405. That is the verdict. Again, I will eat my words if I'm wrong, and I'll be first in line to try PP405. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.